One quick thing that I want to correct before we go any further. Inside of our item slot graph, I accidentally for the stack size set it to the name of the weapon rather than the actual stack size itself. So I just want to quickly get rid of this name and then connect the integer stack size, just like this. Now, creating a portrait for your weapon doesn't have to be really difficult. One of the easiest way that you can use is to actually open up the mesh, whether it being a static mesh or a skeletal mesh, doesn't really matter, works the same. And then taking a screenshot of the actual weapon and using a website or some sort of a tool to remove the background. Let me show you two tools and a simple way to get this done. Now, this is not a sponsored video or anything like that. This is a must-have tool for developers of any sort. Doesn't matter what you're making, but if you're developing and it has a lot of screenshots involvement, Greenshot is the best way to go. Greenshot is completely free for you to install and it works absolutely amazing. I will put a link in the description for this website for you to download Greenshot. This is way better than the actual snipping tool that comes with Windows itself. It has a lot more features that you can use. I have been using Greenshot for several years and it's an absolute grab for developers. Now using Greenshot, I'm going to take a picture of the actual skeletal mesh. Now I have positioned the weapon in a way that it's a little angled and then also a little further back so it doesn't kind of fill the entire portrait. You can feel free to test different views and angles to see what you like. This shot right here is something that I like the best. Now let me take a screenshot using Greenshot here. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Greenshot. And then I'm not going to take an image like really close to the weapon. I want a little bit of buffer on the left and the right side. The image doesn't look stretched out in the item slot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then also line myself so that it's right above the weapon and then just draw a box around it. Again, I'm just eyeballing this. There's no real numbers to this. It's just whatever you like the best. And then I'm going to go ahead and save it directly. And now Greenshot is going to save this directly and I'm going to get something like this. Now I cannot really use this in my background yet. So let me introduce you to the website number 2. If you have never heard of it, Remove.bg is a background removing tool. It's completely free. There is no cost to doing what we're going to do here. You simply have to just drag and drop in your weapon anywhere in here. It's going to do its little magic and it's going to remove the background from the image just like that. It works 100% flawlessly every single time. At the bottom, as you can see, I was testing with so many different variations. This setup with the skeletal mesh view or static mesh view works the best. Now from the BG, I'm going to go ahead and just download it. And inside of my weapon system, I'm going to create a new folder. And this would be for our imports, all of our imports. And it's as simple as just drag and drop that image into this folder. Once you drag and drop, open it up. It's very important that you go ahead and change the texture group from world to UI and then go ahead and save it. Now open up your item slot and then drag that image onto your item slot. So it will look like this. This actually doesn't look that bad at all. And let me show you how this will look in game really quickly. So in the third person character, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new keyboard function for C. And I'm going to say get data table row. Again, this is not the final function. I'm just testing it to show you how this would look like. Select weapons info assault. And when row is found, I want to get my backpack here. And we have our function add to backpack weapons. Connect this in here and the out row connected here. Compile and then the DT weapons info. I'm going to go ahead and drag this weapon onto my portrait here and save. Now in game, when I go ahead and press C, let's say a couple times, and I want to open up my inventory, it looks like that, which doesn't look that bad at all. I'm going to leave it like this. Again, you can adjust the camera, take a bigger picture or shorter picture, and then, trial and error until you find a perfect spot for you to capture your image. Now I'm going to do one for the pistol as well. So in my BLK, I'm going to open up the static mesh and set it up so that it's looking the same direction. Something like this. And then I'm going to open up Greenshot and then take an image and make sure you have a little bit of buffer room on the left and the right side, like some empty space, so the pistol doesn't get stretched out when you put it into the slot. And I'm going to go ahead and save it directly. Bring out my Remove.bg, drag and drop the pistol in here flawlessly. Now download this. Go to my content drawer, back in my imports folder. I'm going to drag this and drag and drop the pistol in here. And I'm going to open up this pistol and also make this as a UI, save. And in my weapons info, I'm going to select the BLK and then add the pistol portrait in there, save. And in my third person, I'm going to select the pistol 01. Again, this is just a test code that we're doing here. Now, if I press play and if I press C a couple times, there's my pistol. Actually looks pretty good. It's not that bad at all. I could also go to the item slot, select the item icon, and then where it says color and opacity, I can go ahead and make it really bright or lower it as I see fit. I'm just going to make it fully bright here. And the pistol looks like that, which I think is really, really good. Now let's do our items. Now in Fab, I just searched for chocolate in 3D models and then set it to like, lowest price first. And I found this nice little chocolate bar. It's a nice 3D model that's been made in Blender. So we're going to go ahead and add this to our project, and we're going to use this for our item, for our first item. So let's go ahead and add this to our project. Open up the chocolate bar. Okay. And then I'm going to do a top-down shot of this, just like this, or sideways. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to take a screenshot. And then save it directly. Bring in the Remove.bg. Drag and drop the chocolate in there. And let's see how this works. Like I said, flawlessly every time. So now let's go ahead and download this, and then we can actually drag and drop this into our, we don't want to put it into our weapon system. Let's go to our item system and then create a new folder. And this would be for our imports. And let's go ahead and drag and drop that in here. I'm going to rename this as well as Chocobar. Chocobar. Inside of here, I'm going to set this texture group to UI. And make sure this compression settings is set to user interface 2D. And in the item slot, I'm going to go ahead and test it to see how this would look. It looks a little stretched out, so we can definitely fix this. Let me go ahead and fix this really quickly. I quickly just zoomed out, added more buffer to the left, right, and top sides, and I removed the background and I'm importing it in again. This actually looks way better. I'm going to go ahead and set this as UI, save it. Let's go ahead and close it in our item slot. I'm going to select the icon image, drag and drop this in here. That looks way better. And again, in my third person inventory, I'm going to go ahead and select our item data, select the candy bar. This is no longer add to weapons. This is going to be items, add to backpack items. And we can test it. Wanted to add, let's do like 5. Compile, and then we'll go back to our item system, item data. We just need to populate this image here. This is the one. And maximum stack size, we'll set it to like 5. Actually, we can test it with just 2 and add a weight of like 0.1. In game, let's go ahead and press play, see a couple times, and then if I press tab, as you can see, it's respecting the rule of the stack size, and it's creating new stack for each choco bar, and it's actually adding it to our inventory as well. So our inventory function is completely functional, and the items are showing up properly in the grid as well. One thing I do notice is that in my UI, the UI is like far to the right, and I can actually bring it a lot more closer. So back in my content drawer, UI folder, backpack main, I'm going to select this size box and I'm just going to move it one whole grid over. And the anchors, I'm going to go ahead and set our anchors. I don't think we did it last time. Same for this. Let's go ahead and properly set up our anchors. Let's take a look how this looks. Not bad at all. There you go. Looks good. And if I change my stack size, here to 5, and we're adding in 5, if I press play, and if I put like 2 of them in tab, there you go, stack size of 5, and it works very well. Excellent. I'm going to follow the same process for a couple more items. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that there are some models which has proprietary information on it, like Coca-Cola. This logo is not free for us to use. I would actually refrain from using any proprietary information or material in your game. Like, you can just completely avoid it. If they rename this Coca-Cola to like something else, then I would have used it. But these are all proprietary names, like Campbell's Soup and everything are proprietary. Unless you have explicit permission from the actual manufacturer, I would refrain from using it. There's a soda can that I could use. Found a chip bag that we can use. Also a soda can. We also have a bottle of water that we can add to our project. A can with no label on it. Must have something good inside of it, right? So let's add this to our project as well. A simple wine bottle with no label on it. This is actually great. Here's a cool looking baked beans that we can actually use. And some can of tuna or some sort of a canned fish. I also found this first aid cabinet which has a whole bunch of different medicine that we can use as well, because we do need these medicine. I think we have gotten enough of these items, so let's go ahead and create the portraits for all of them. If you ever get a mesh and it has two of it side by side, and you only want one of it, you can actually use that Remove.bg tool to actually get rid of it. Let me show you how that works. Make sure the can that you need is in the center. And let's go ahead and take a screenshot. And when you take a screenshot, just pretend this can doesn't exist here. So I'm going to go ahead and do something like this. So that puts our main can in the center. In Remove.bg, I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop this can. And then there is a erase and restore option. And I'm going to go ahead and erase this entire can, just like this. That can is gone. Now we can go ahead and close this erase tool, and then we can download it. Drag and drop that into the folder. I am going to rename this as can of beans. And make sure you select UI. And I'm also going to check to see if this actually looks pretty good. Not bad at all. So let me go ahead and do the rest of them. If you download an asset where you have this grid going through the asset and you want to get rid of it for your screenshot, you can always go to show and then get rid of this grid just like that. Alright, so for now I've gotten some medicine and also some food item. I'm going to also create a new folder in here and then name this medical and also another folder for food and then split these items in there. Just to keep it nice and tidy. Now back in my item data, now I can start populating this table with more items. Now let's finish our candy bar. For our chocolate bar, we're going to go ahead and select our chocolate bar as our mesh. And the item type is going to be food. The healing amount is like very small. And the value of it is $1. Maximum stack size, we set it to 5, so you can have 5 chocolate bar in one stack. That's your image, and the weight is good. Let's do our can of beans. So I'm going to drag the portrait in here and name this baked beans. And also look for the mesh of our can of beans. Now this mesh actually has 2 cans in there. That's perfectly fine, because when the player sees these cans in the store, they would go ahead and interact with it and they would only get 1 can. And the can of beans will heal about like 9 points of your health. Because it's a can of beans, I'm going to make this like $3, a lot more valuable. The maximum stack size, we don't want to give the player too much of these can of beans, so they could have like maybe 4 in a stack. Again, we can come back and play with these values, change it based on how the gameplay goes out. And this is what an entire balancing patch is all about. Like, balancing the things here and there. And each can, it's going to weigh 1 pound. Next up, we have our chips bag. This is again food item. Now the chips bag will heal like 1 point. Again, not really a great food to be eating. And the value of this bag, again, this is a bagged item, so it should be like a much more higher value. So I'm going to make this like $2. Well, higher value than the chocolate bar. $2 is not that great. Maximum stack size, because it's a chip bag, we're going to allow the player to have like 8 bags in a slot. And the weight of this would be like 0.3. Can of pop, Swash Cola. Now this cola should probably heal us like about 7 points each cola. The value of cola is always going to be pretty expensive. Let's make this like $3. Max stack size for the cola, you're good to carry like 4 cola. And the weight of this would be about 1 pound each. One thing that we want to do is we want to also rename our row name to the name of the item, so it's easy for you to work with when you're debugging and stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them here. Now I want this wine to actually hurt the player's health instead of doing any good, so I'm just going to make it like -2 per bottle drunk. But wine is going to be a hot commodity, so I'm going to make this like $10 if you can find a wine bottle. Maximum stack size is going to be like 3, and the weight of the wine is going to be like 1.4. Now that the food items are done, let's do our medicine in the same table, and make sure you set this item type to medical. Alright folks, I think this is a good start for our items data, and in our next video we're going to keep progressing this backpack component. I'll catch you on the next one.